Hello and welcome to today's episode 11. I can't believe that we're up to episode 11 to Birding Conversations. And today my guest, very, very honored to have you, Chani, here. Chani Rosengarten is a mother. She's an author, actually a best-selling author at Amazon. And you know, the name of your book is, I'm in love with that name, The Boundary Is You. I mean, I think it can give the audience already a whole introduction what the episode is going to look like. Chani is a coach that has online classes and personal coaching on women empowerment, my most favorite subject, and on how to deal with finances and basically how to be the best you.
Yes.
Which is really an honor having you. So welcome, Chani.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yes, my honor and pleasure. So, Chani, we're going to schmooze. We're going to talk a little bit. And what I wanted to ask you first is, how did you get to do what you're doing?
I love that question. Thank you. I started off feeling very different from how I feel today. I felt very disempowered, got married young, had beautiful babies, Baruch Hashem. It was hard. It was tough. I didn't feel good about myself. And I had a belief that it had to be that marriage should be good, mothering should be good. A woman should feel good, right? A woman is such a precious thing, person, human, soul.
Such an important
Yes. And I did have a sense that it has to feel good. So I looked, and I did many things, some of which worked, some of which didn't. And when I found the things that have really helped me and have made such a big difference in coming from a place of overwhelm and struggle and darkness to a place of just light and freedom and empowerment and really understanding the beauty of the role of being a mother, a woman, a human, I wanted to share that. And I started sharing it on a small scale, and it's been growing.
That's amazing.
It's resonating.
So what were the things that were speaking the most to you as far as that enlightenment and power and not everything needs to be dark? Because it's so true what you're saying. So many moms and even young moms feel this way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what were those spotlights?
So I think that when I experienced, more than understood, when I experienced the fact that we have personal freedom, that we can create the life we want, that we have more power in a relationship than we think we do. Understanding my own personal power is and just the ability to make changes, to make a better life for myself, that was pretty powerful for me.
It is.
I think the fact that motherhood is so taken for granted, because it's so normalized, which is in a way beautiful. Like it has its advantages. We're all mothers, so we know what's involved, and like we've seen children. It's easier to raise children when you grew up with little children. But it's so normalized that we don't understand the magnitude of what it is to be a mother. That when a young woman, when I was 18, 19 and got married and in the same breath got pregnant and had my first baby and had my second baby, that was a lot. But to me, it was just what you do. So
that's what you're supposed to do. Almost.
Right. Yeah. I mean, not only what you're supposed to do, you don't even question, like there's no, like you just do it. It just is what it is. And there's no room there for it to say, wow, I'm doing something so big. I probably need to prepare myself to understand how big this is and appreciate myself and take maybe time off from work. I went back to work five weeks after my baby. It was overwhelming. Like today I would never do that because I understand what mothering is. Like you had a baby, your body has to go back to normal. So I think that the lack of appreciation, because having children was so normalized, it was like, I'll have one and I'll have another one and another one. And I never stopped to think what it is.
I was just listening to a woman that was talking about it, and she said that the beauty side of it, like to grow up in a big family and being used to children and helping your siblings, your mom with your siblings, and then helping, if you're from the younger ones, your older sisters or brothers that have children and the neighbors' children, and playing with children. But in the same token, and that's what she was saying, and I very much connected to it, sometimes you lose self.
Yeah.
Who are you in this process?
Yeah.
Is it really what you want right now? Are you really ready? Do you really even understand what that shift means? So I can very much connect to what you're saying, also as a result of calls we get in Sparks. I find a lot of young moms, and now more than ever before, every day a few new moms that are calling and they're struggling. So yes, it is hormonal, but not with everyone. It's so pure hormonal. So I find another side to it that is triggering and is bringing different emotions up. So if you want to tell me a little bit about your method, how is it that you so many women confide in you, you have so many followers and so many happy clients.
Hashem, yes,
so if you want to, which is amazing, and you yourself, you're so young. When we once spoke on the phone, you told me your age. I said, now I see you look young. But back then, even on the phone, I said, Chani, really? This is how old you are, and this is you have been accomplished, which is something really to look up very much to, and to be a model, a role model for other imams. So what is the method?
Yeah, thank you. So the method is, well, I call it the land method, which land is a boundary to the sea, right? The land to the ocean. And it's an acronym for love, autonomy, negotiation, and direction. So love is really just loving yourself.
Right.
We all have such vulnerable parts to ourselves, and we have two choices with those vulnerable parts. One of them is to cover it up, disown it, because we're scared of it. It's uncomfortable. And the other option we have is to gently love, really love, and give just safety and appreciation for all those gentle parts of ourselves. So
that's major.
Yeah, it's a big one. It's taking the whole entirety of who we are and really being okay with it, accepting it, making room for it. So love is a big thing. Autonomy is knowing that you are a self, and that regardless of what's happening, regardless of the fact that you are married, have children, are part of a community, are part of a family, siblings, work.
You name it.
Yes. You are an individual, like appreciating individuality, just yourself. Negotiation means how do we talk to others, right? Especially in relationship. And direction is, where do you want to go with your life? What do you want to do? Who do you want to be?
I love it. Is this all in your book?
Yeah.
I'm buying your book today. Today you're having a sale. I would love to read it.
Thank you.
It's put down in so short, but in so much. Every word you say is so much. What do you find would be kind of the biggest struggle to women?
Love.
I agree. And why do you think that is?
I know, it's ironic. We love so many people. We give love to so many people. We're so loving. And then we come to ourselves, and it's hard. It's hard to love ourselves. It's hard because we have either been told, there are so many messages and so many reasons and so many experiences, scary experiences, traumatic experiences, and messages that we've been told to not love certain parts of ourselves, like, oh, I can't believe you're this, or you're too that, or we're scared. We're scared of the sensations in our body. We're scared of overwhelm. It's scary to be human, you know?
It is scary to be human.
Yeah.
And maybe also a misconception between self-love and being arrogant, like kind of you're going to look at yourself as you're arrogant if you're going to maybe love yourself more, believe in yourself more.
Yeah.
Do you see something in those lines?
Absolutely. So the messages we get of like, who do you think you are, right? Or be quiet. You can be seen but not heard. Or women should be subdued. Women should be idle. Women should be, what's a better word? Modest, right?
Yeah.
And all of these messages, whichever one impact, like we heard the loudest, these things walk along with us. We really believe it. We believe that just shut your mouth and behave.
And those are kind of even concepts that, like, you can't even question, kind of. Mm-hmm. If you're not aware, then those are, it's just like, there are a lot of those concepts like, oh, women are sensitive. Women are, all those, women are more emotional, they're not logic. All those statements.
Yes.
That I find a lot of us are being graced with them. And as children, we don't know better but to believe them.
Yeah.
And then to get rid of an old belief is not easy.
Yeah. Yeah. It comes to us as a message from somebody who believed it, our parents, our teachers. It becomes a belief, and the belief becomes a truth, because since we believe it, it then gets bolstered with proof. Like we have evidence because we see, I spoke up and everyone was upset, or I actually stood up for myself and I lost a friend or a family member. And we say it's true. It's not only a belief, it's actually true. And we never even question it, right?
I like that. From belief to truth, which is even a lot deeper than just a belief.
Mm-hmm.
If that's your truth, I like it.
Yeah, we think it's our truth.
Of course. It's a false belief.
Yeah.
But it can feel as it's so true.
Yeah.
I like that. And how do you switch that?
Well, knowing that it's a belief, right? When we get stuck, when we are struggling, we can say, what's going on? Like what do I believe, right? What are my thoughts here? And noticing that it is a thought, noticing that it is a belief. When you see that this is a belief you have, it's not a truth anymore. You've become the observer who's bigger than the truth that you believe.
Right.
So it becomes smaller. You can start questioning it.
You give yourself even the permission.
Yeah.
Giving yourself permission is a big one.
Big.
Big, big. Not so easy done.
There are some real world repercussions for not fitting in. People will talk about me.
Right.
So the permission to say all of that might be true and I still choose myself first when I know that people will judge, right?
They will.
They will.
They will.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
We can see why when a woman doesn't give herself permission, we can see that with compassion. It's a real thing.
It is.
The risks are high.
It's very real. It's a price to pay.
Yes.
But then is the question, is this price worth it to me for my individuality?
Am I the price that I want to pay? It's a big price.
Yes. I like that. It's like when you say about people and peer pressure, what we were talking so many times that I have been saying to moms over the years, I said, if someone cannot love you for who you are, then it's not your person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, so important. Talking about marriage, right? We have young mothers who are also making sure that their husbands are happy with them. It's a lot of pressure. Like a young mother I want a young mother to know that her husband can be there for her, that she doesn't have to be perfect in order to be loved and supported. Right.
And no one is perfect. So I find that balance is always the key, right? Like with everything. So yeah, in a relationship, we want to be that person that's considerate and want the other person to be happy.
Yeah.
And the same we want for ourselves from them.
Yeah.
But that is not the same as being loved so conditionally, only if and when and but.
Yeah.
It's not the same. And I find there is maybe a misconception in that, a misunderstanding what that means.
What that means, the unconditional love?
The unconditional love, yeah.
Tell me more.
Like, I find that unconditional is unconditional, and that is not related to the understanding that a relationship is a give and take. A relationship is two people that are interdependent, not codependent. That doesn't mean that I cannot choose to do something even if I'm not so much in the mood of it, just because this is going to make my husband happy now. Mm-hmm. That I see as being an understanding person. But to do that out of fear and if I'm not going to just be so disciplined, I'm not going to be loved. Yeah. That's not the same.
Yeah. Beautiful.
It's just, and women empowerment, which is you're so big at that. And that's a subject that I really care about it a lot. So tell me about it.
So woman empowerment is everything we're talking about, right? That permission, knowing we have permission to choose what we want to do, to make a good life for ourselves. I think I appreciated what you said. We want to be there for the people that we want to be there for, because we're loving people, we're nurturing people. We want to be there for our children, for our families, and our communities. Women build communities. We build many things, right? We give birth to babies. We give birth to our communities. We give birth to consciousness in our communities. So we create many things. So we want to be there for others, but also taking that permission to be there for ourselves. And knowing who we are, understanding who we are. We're powerful. And we can take the permission to be powerful.
It's okay to be powerful. As long as it's in the right measurement, yeah. Yes. Like, I don't know if you ever read Dr. Glazer's book. One of probably the best books I have read in my life, and it's called The Choice Theory. And he speaks about like things which is basic needs for every human being, which is, like I mentioned before, shelter and love and freedom and power, and we all need those things. Mm-hmm. And his whole theory, he talks about it. I mean, he's a psychiatrist, and he talks about depression, and very interesting take on it. But like, bottom line, what he says is that not just that we cannot force someone else, we can't even force ourselves. Mm-hmm. Self-force doesn't work.
Yeah.
And his whole book is based how to find and how to get to the right balance with all those needs. Because if everyone needs power, but if, let's say, a guy is so powerful that if his wife cheated on him, he kills her or her boyfriend, that's a powerful man that belongs in jail, right? That's an extreme. So the same goes with everything. So my thing always that I talk about, and I would like to hear your take, is balance is the key.
Let me think about that for a minute, because you said a few things, right? You spoke about like our needs, which is also so important. It's just so important to talk about, because when I talk about all these needs, I just mentioned it in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? The first thing we need is food, clothing, and shelter, and it goes up from there. And even just talking about the fact that we need food, right? So that means that waking up and feeding the children and then grabbing a chocolate bar, it doesn't really, we're ignoring our basic need.
Right.
So we just knowing that we really have needs, and all of our needs are important. All of our needs, right? Our need for attention, our need for love, our need for connection, community, security, sexuality, it's all important, and we have permission to take care of those needs. The other piece is the force piece, right? Which is, it's interesting, because one of the things that we do when we do wake up and we say, okay, so let me take care of myself, a big thing that we do is we employ force with ourselves. Oh, like if, let's say I want to lose weight, right? So we start beating ourselves up. I shouldn't, I can't, I'm so bad, I cheated, we call ourselves names. We think that we can kind of bully ourselves into submission, and we're fighting ourselves. So when we're fighting ourselves, we're going to lose anyway, because if you're going to lose the weight, let's say, if that's the goal, you've just lost your dignity and you've been hard on yourself. So I appreciate the talking about the choice. Like, how do we gently, lovingly guide ourselves to take care of our needs?
Right. Without force.
Yeah.
Without force. And to reach balance.
Right. So we're talking about balance. Balance is interesting, right? I'm okay with the fact that when we get into balance, there's a little bit of in order to get into balance, there's a shake of both sides, right?
Yeah, I agree.
And so when we're coming into balance, I've heard it from so many people that they blame themselves. Like, oh, let's say they're like, okay, I need to take care of myself. So then the next thing they're saying is I'm so self-absorbed, right? Or they get it from others, like, oh, she's suddenly all obsessed with herself, right? And it's okay that we went from the right to the left and we haven't found the center yet. I want women to appreciate the process and that it's okay.
It's a journey.
Yeah. It's okay, right?
I totally agree with you. It's okay, and it's a process, and it's a journey, and appreciate the journey.
Yeah.
Like Maimonides, which was a philosopher and a doctor and so known, then he has always been talking about balance, and even with food, it's I think something he said was that, let's say, you 80% on a good healthy route of food, but then you go off the highway, you exit, and those are those 20%, and then you go back onto the highway, and that's okay. Because what you mentioned, that women are so hard on themselves, even with weight loss, it's okay if you cheat. It's normal. You human, and just remembering that and going back to the main road, I think that's what helps to balance. And I'm just going to agree with you on what you said, that when we are in a journey to find that balance, it will shake. And sometimes we need to go to another extreme in order to balance.
Yeah.
Because, like in character, how to balance character. So an angry person, like they're gonna, in the beginning, when they're gonna work so much on their anger, they're gonna be so careful, like never to even raise their voice a little bit. But then they're human. So if they will raise their voice a little bit sometimes, it still does not make them angry people if they're gonna get frustrated. So that's the way I see it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think we do come into balance when we allow ourselves to figure it out, right? Balance comes from being able to hold both sides. So we do need to go through that process of being able to hold the other side from where we're coming from.
Right. I wanted to ask you, as a woman takes care of herself and becomes more empowered, and her husband is not used to having this wife, how do you find their reaction to be?
So it's interesting because most men end up loving it. A woman who is empowered is nurturing, giving. She is what a woman naturally is, which is a gift to men. And she's attractive. She's empowered. Men benefit from an empowered woman. When they've been in a dynamic, in a dance where she hasn't been empowered and it was working somehow, right? Like the dance was working. She's stepping out of the dance and he's uncomfortable. And I want women to understand that as they're growing, and maybe they're also uncomfortable, but maybe they have support. Maybe they have a vision of where they're going towards. So they're being held in the process. This man has no idea what's happening, right? So we want to be compassionate that his world is turning upside down and it's a little uncomfortable.
For real.
Right. He doesn't know what this is. He's maybe grown up in a place where he didn't know that women can be empowered and that they can coexist in a beautiful, empowered way. Like he might be threatened, right? So we want to have compassion, and not stop the process because of it. We want to have compassion that the process is something where a man might feel challenged. But ultimately, when we do this, we're doing this for the family. A woman who's empowered is a blessing to her husband and to her family. And so even if there's a little bit of a fear there, if the man can know he's still loved, he's still valued, he's still the man, right? She's just taking care of herself. Ultimately.
And she can reassure him.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it works out well.
So you see it working,
yeah.
which is good news, because I find so many men, they themselves grew up so sheltered even, and they come into a marriage with kind of a list how this is supposed to work. And then when this works just even the other extreme to what they imagined, it's an adjustment.
Yeah.
So compassion is a good word for that.
Yeah, yeah. Understanding what they're going through, right? Their world is upending. It's scary, but it's good. And yeah, we all come in with lists. I mean, the idea of like dating someone or marrying someone that has to have qualities as opposed to a human being, right? That you can care for each other and get along with each other. We do have these ideas that are not in sync with life, that you, instead of living with someone, we have ideas of how we want things to be. And it turns out that in life, life is more about living and not about expectations. So we can have compassion when those expectations break down. It's painful, but it's good. It's life.
Right. You have a good point with the lists for dating.
Yeah.
I find if we're talking about dating, I find the three things which is I see them important in dating is, attraction, which is between the couple, and, seeing life aligned because one wants to go this direction and that direction. And the hardest is emotional well-being. How emotionally well is the other person? But to me, if those three things can be aligned and they check off, then the rest is history.
Oh, that's beautiful. That is beautiful.
Then the rest is history, yeah. It doesn't mean it's not still work. If we're talking about marriage, I think marriage is like a plant that you have to water it every single day.
Yeah.
But those three are major.
Well, they are, but not everyone has that, right? When we're talking about mental health, right? Like we are talking, especially in this podcast, we might be talking to people who are already married and might be saying, well, what if I do struggle with, or my spouse does, with mental illness? Or what if
mental illness is different than, but yeah, some of them might still struggle. But that's a little different than emotional well-being. Emotional well-being is more in the character than as something outside that comes on the person. If it's OCD or if it's any type of postpartum or if it's any type of trauma they have to heal from. But if their character can still be emotionally well, it's a lot easier, but absolutely not everyone has that or was able and with no judgment due to their, their genetics, childhood, you name it. So you're right. I'm giving you back the floor on that. Then what do you do?
Right. What do you do when you're not attracted to each other, when you are not emotionally well? And what was the third one?
And aligned in lifestyle.
Right. Also, not all couples, right? And we find ourselves like you have a family, you have a partnership, and you're not aligned. So what do you do
then? So I'm going to give you the last word on that.
So I do think that it's enough if we say, I want a good life for myself. So where am I going, right? We don't have to go in the same direction to be friends and partners. We don't have to be well in order for me to find wellness. And we don't have to be attracted to in order to connect, right? We can choose to connect on the things that we connect on. Like if I haven't been given what is important on the list, how can I make a good life for myself?
Right. this is good advice for the ones that are married already.
Well, for the young ones, I mean, when I was young and looking, did I know what wellness was? Barely. So, yeah, life.
For the ones. So, Chani, I'm going to give you the last word here of this part, our conversation, I would say, that passed so quickly.
Yes.
I feel like we just started. And what is the message that you want to give to all the audience, the married moms, the young ones, that are listening to us?
How do we say love yourself in 2 words? Love yourself. That's how we say it. Yeah, really, take really good care of yourself. You're so worthy. And the book that we mentioned is available on my website, and it's free actually as a download.
Really?
Yeah. So
if you want to, what's your website?
aisheschail.org.
Whoa.
Or theboundaryyou.com. I think it's available on both websites as a free download.
That's amazing. Mm-hmm. I would like it in a hard copy,
yes.
and that I know very nicely how to purchase on Amazon.
Right, it's true. It's available on Amazon.
That's gonna be my honor. Thank you, Chani, so much for being here today.
Thank you. This was wonderful.
Yes, it was.